Hey, Jason.
Hey, Rich, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well.
So what'd you bring in today?
Our new circuit breaker line.
I told you to bring something in cool. You brought me in circuit breakers?
Well, I'll tell you, all your pretty little automation equipment's going to go poof if you don't put the right circuit protection in.
All right. What you got? So what are we talking about here?
So this is our new 3VA circuit breaker line. This is really the flagship of our circuit protection product offering. So this is a very compact, cost-effective, easy to use and implement circuit breaker.
All right, cool. So when you say cost-effective, we talk about scalability. What's there?
Yeah, really, when you say scalability, I think flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing with the breaker, whether you're talking a traditional thermal mag breaker or an electronic trip unit, Siemens gives the customers options on what they can implement and use on their breakers.
Okay. You said electronic trip unit. I've heard that terminology in the past and not quite sure of what that means as far as functionality.
Sure. So an electronic trip unit, first and foremost, just simply gives you more accuracy because you're measuring the current in each phase. But what it also does is it gives you the ability to maybe more easily coordinate your breakers because you can adjust the trip curve. So you can adjust the curve where the breaker closest to the fault is going to trip, so your upstream breakers aren't going to trip. Okay. But probably lastly, and maybe most importantly, is it can actually reduce the number of part numbers or SKUs that you or your customer would need.
So Jason, when you said reduce part numbers using the electronic trip, what do you mean by that?
Sure. So think about it. If you're a panel builder or a machine builder, let's say you had applications where you had needed a 300 amp breaker, maybe a 350 amp breaker, a 400 amp breaker. With a traditional thermal mag, you would just need 3 separate breakers for those 3 different applications. With an electronic trip unit, you can have one single breaker cover all 3 of those applications, and you just dial in the nominal amperage that you need.
Wow, so you literally can take 3 breaker part numbers down to a breaker and a trip unit, and that's it. It sounds expensive.
Well, again, going back to that scalability or flexibility concept, we offer 3 different versions of this trip unit. So the entry level trip unit, ETU trip unit, is virtually the same cost as a thermal mag. So you're not really paying extra for that functionality. But we do have higher feature electronic trip units that add additional features like communications or even power metering on the high end.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. So, what we hear all the rage in the industry today is IoT and getting data from the lowest end devices from the machines themselves. What do these breakers have that we can grab that data from them directly? It sounds like it's got communications available.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you get into that mid-level or high-level ETU, you basically have a pocket in here and you would put an accessory in there and be able to communicate directly to a dumb breaker, whether it's Profibus, Profinet, Modbus, RTU, or TCP, all within the simple electronic trip breaker.
Okay. You also mentioned panel meter, and I've seen a lot of applications where you walk up to a panel and there's a meter sitting right on the front of the panel door. Mm-hmm. Obviously a separate component that's being purchased and added to the system. Are you saying that we could actually do that in this breaker?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the high-end breakers actually can do power metering for one thing, but then also to have at least a display for the front of the panel, and you can display up to 8 breakers and the characteristics of those 8 breakers on a single small little display panel for the 3VA breaker.
Wow, very cool. Anything else of specific interest when it comes to the circuit breakers?
Again, getting back to that flexibility or scalability, I'd like to talk a little bit just about the accessories and how easy they are to use. First of all, the accessories, whether you're talking auxiliaries or trip alarms, shunt trips, they're common throughout the whole family up to the 1,000 amps that we currently have the breaker offering. And they're very easy to install. You simply remove the front cover of the breaker. And what's nice too, and if you see this, if you flip the cover down, there's actually a little cheat sheet or a table that shows you exactly where you can put each accessory.
Okay.
So like an auxiliary can go anywhere, but if you had a trip alarm, it needs to go in a specific spot in the breaker. Okay. And you can see how easy the accessories are to install. You simply place them in the pocket and snap down. It could not be any easier.
All right, sweet, sweet. What about operation-wise, when it comes to operators and handles and things like that? What do you got there?
So pretty much anything you could think of. So whether you're going we have what we would call a door mount handle that would simply, you could have a cutout on your enclosure and the actual handle itself would fit through that opening in the enclosure, or we do your traditional rotary through the doors with the handle, the shaft, and the operator. You can also do cable operated with a flange disconnect. You could do even motor operators to remotely operate and turn on and off the breaker. And I kind of showcased this. This is kind of a neat little option that's available. You can get an illuminated handle as well. So if you think about it, maybe if these breakers might be installed in a electrical room where the lighting's very dim, and it can be difficult for a maintenance person to tell if a breaker's on or whether it's tripped. And you can see you get an illumination and you know exactly that breaker's on, or it turns yellow if the breaker is tripped, or in the off position it's green.
Oh, sweet, sweet, neat. And what about current range? What are we going up to from a current range perspective?
Sure. So we actually offer the thermal mag version up to 800 amps, and then the electronic trips are currently up to 1,000 amps, but we are going up to 2,000 amps with the 3VA line, which most of that, it'll be the 1,200 amp, 1,600 amp, and 2,000 amp should be coming out in 2021.
All right, sweet. All right, well, thanks a lot for the overview. We'll be sure to promote this as we move forward. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it. Thanks.